Good morning, Mr. Soni. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Chairperson.
Good morning, Mr. Montana.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, the oath you took yesterday will continue today, Mr. Montana. Will continue to apply. Okay, Mr. Soni.
As you please, Chairperson. Chairperson, you'll recall we adjourned yesterday after Mr. Montana had made had made the affidavit in the Siangena matter available to us. We just wanted to check if there is anything there that would affect the line of questioning for now. Obviously, we will admit that document at the correct stage, but for now, may I proceed with where we left off on the questioning yesterday, Chairperson?
Yeah, that's fine.
And we'll admit the relevant documents at the right time.
No, that's fine. Mr. Montana, I'm going to try and keep an eye, maybe more than I've done before today, to making sure that you are able to answer the question first, even if you have some elaboration. But if the question is why, the answer starts with the reason is, and then you can explain, or if it's what or where, then the place is this or the time was what. Okay, let's start.
As you please, Chairperson. Mr. Montana, can I please again refer you to Bundle G, and this is page 198. This, you'll recall, is where the
This is PRASA Bundle G.
PRASA Bundle G, as you please, Chairperson.
Yeah.
This is an annex here to Mr. Lobsher's affidavit. It is SS16, and it's page 198, where Mr. van der Walt was itemizing the payments he made in respect of the Parkwood property. Page 198, Mr. Montana.
And the handwritten 198.
Right. So yesterday, you'll recall we were dealing with different subparagraphs of paragraph 2.2, and we had gone up to 2.24. That's the amount of 400,000 Rand that was paid on the 24th of July 2014. You confirm that?
No, Chair, I note the statement.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just a bit concerned when you say you note the statement. You see, what I'm putting to you is we have a letter from Mr. van der Walt in which he says, in respect of the Parkwood property, he made these various payments to you. Now, are you simply saying you noted, or do you say you received those payments, either in your own bank account or he paid somebody whom you asked him to pay?
But Chair, I can only note, I've said yesterday, it's like, Chair, somebody giving me your statement and say, answer the question. I don't know the details of the statement because it's got nothing to do with me. So I can only note, and I think that let's be fair. How am I expected to answer about the statement of somebody else? What we know here, Chair, is that I sold a property for 6.8 to Mr. van der Walt. And I've confirmed that he paid me 6.8.
Yeah.
Now, that 6.8 didn't even come into my account.
Yeah.
But it was paid in different ways.
Yes.
At my own instructions.
Yes.
Now, what we have before us, Chair,
Yeah.
not asking me about that. You know, Chair, I mean, let's be fair. I came here.
Yeah.
When I came here, I was told that I stole 36 million rands and bought properties. I'm here. This story about 36 million is now gone away. Now, I can only note, I don't even know, Mr. van der Walt is responding to his partners.
Yeah.
Now,
No, I think we can make progress. What you have just said now is Mr. van der Walt paid you 6.8 million rand, number one. Number two, if I understand you correctly, no part of that, no portion of that amount came directly into your bank account. Is that right?
Chair, I think the large bulk of that.
Yeah.
And that is why I say I don't have access to my own account.
Yes.
But the large bulk, so I remember three specific payments that we made.
Yes.
The first was to the bank for 2 million.
Yes.
So it's not reflected here. See. We don't even know from what account it was paid.
Yeah.
We know that I've asked him to pay 2 million.
Yeah.
For deposit to Hurlingham.
Yes.
We don't see that in this statement.
Yes.
Then there's a third payment of 2.2.
Yes.
And then there are other payments that he said to me in an email that it's money that I owe to him.
Yeah.
Which I think is in that annexure there.
Yes.
Now, I think, Chair, so that I confirm.
Yeah.
Now, I look at this statement yesterday.
Yeah.
I did a quick calculation.
Yeah.
The statements that I think it was 198 and the longer one version.
Yes.
Now, it has got transactions, deposits of over 30, almost between 30 and 40 million. They've got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
They've got to do with even other people.
Yeah.
Are they here before the commission to explain? Now, Chair, I think it's really to ask me to answer questions about somebody else's statement.
No.
I can only note. I don't know what you are saying.
I think, I don't know what Mr. Soni says. I think that what you are saying is part of that amount of 6.8 may have gone into your account.
That's correct, Chair.
But the bulk of it, on your instructions, was paid in different amounts to different people or entities.
Yes, for example, Chair, the first 2 million.
Yes.
It goes without saying, actually, that was not even an instruction from me.
Yeah.
If the property had to be transferred,
Yes.
the bond had to be cancelled with the bank.
Yes,
He has to pay that amount first.
Yes.
So I agree with that, Chair. Now, I'm saying, if we say 110 came into your account, sitting here, not having my statements because my account was closed, that is why I requested the commission. Can we ask the bank to provide so that I can then compare and say that may have come into my account? I confirm. So when I say I note, because I can't confirm or reject, Chair.
You can't admit or dispute.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Soni.
Well, on that basis, Mr. Montana, we'll accept what you say. You are saying that you note the various payments that Mr. van der Walt reflects as having been paid in respect of the Parkwood property from 2.2.1 to 2.2.9.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, so we don't need to go into each statement.
Chair, I don't think we should, but part of the issue, let me explain. When Mr. van der Walt, you recall that when Mr. van der Walt bought the property, one of the issues that we agreed on, there were certain things that needed to be done at the house. And we agreed that, I even said to him, those are not for my account. If you want to install new things, you can do that. I can install them, but they are for your account. Now, as I'm sitting here, I'm not able to even reconcile any of those things. So I think the only thing that will help us is only if we get my statement, Chair, to do that. And nothing is being put to me, Chair, about the flow of the 36 million rands. You know, Chair, I keep on repeating this point. The whole country knows that Montana stole 36 million and bought houses. I'm here. I'm being asked about somebody else's account, not about what I stole.
Yeah.
I want to answer this commission on those. So
No,
I
no,
keep
that's
on making
fine.
that point, Chair, because it's very important to me.
No, that's fine, Mr. Montana. I think the only other issue that should be raised in regard to these amounts that are stated here at page 198 to 199 is that you are able to remember, I think, 1, 2, or 3. It's in respect of 2 or 3 or so payments that you have recollection of your instructions to Mr. Van der Walt as to what he should do, like the Hellingham property, that some money should go there, but you can't remember all of them.
Chair, I'm saying, actually, I don't want to come and say to the commission,
Yeah.
I don't remember. That's not,
Okay.
that's not the kind of answer.
Okay.
I'm simply saying that for now,
Yeah,
we are dealing with 2 statements that do
Yeah.
not belong to me.
yeah,
Now, Mr. Van der Walt and I, Chair, beyond this state, beyond what has been put before me, had a relationship on developments. There's monies that have exchanged. Now, I don't even know what this relates to. Now, in principle, I'd say to Mr. Soni, I'm not denying that they could have, these payments would have been done or
Yeah.
even paid to other people
Yeah.
on my behalf, because that's what I said, I said to you. So, Chair, I'm not, Mr.
Yeah.
Van der Walt bought the property, I think earlier on, he
Yeah.
said 68 million, not 66.8 million.
Oh, 6.8.
I think,
Okay.
Chair, I don't want that
you
amount to
you
keep-
must have been thinking from 36 million to 68 million.
Yes, but I would
Yeah.
ask
No,
for
no.
more of that to come
No.
back, Chair.
If I said 68 million, sorry, 6.8.
So in essence, what I'm saying
Yeah.
to Mr. Soni, I'm saying that I'm noting this. It's true, he may be saying that.
Yeah.
But also I realize that Mr. Van der Walt may also have made mistakes
Yeah,
when I look at this in my understanding of the thing. And I think that he may be including all of this
yeah,
in relation to what he then told me as a amount
that he said you
owing
owed
to,
him.
that I owe to him.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. So I'm not able to say that, Chair.
No, I think let's put it to bed if we can. As I understand it, Mr. Soni, Mr. Montana says he notes these amounts and what Mr. Van der Walt says about them. He is not in a position, he's not saying he's disputing them.
Yes.
All he is saying is he and Mr. Van der Walt had a relationship in terms of which various transactions happened, and not just the ones we are talking about. And in respect of this particular property, he instructed Mr. Van der Walt to make payments out of the 6.8 million, not 68 million. Out of the 6.8 million, he gave him instructions as to where to pay what amount.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think
We
I
can't
think
take
that's
it
fine,
further
yeah.
than that.
I think we can take it from there.
There are 2 issues that I want to raise with you in regard to the payments. If you look at page 199, you will see at paragraph 2.2.8, he says that a payment was made of 2 million rand on the 20th of February 2015. You see that, Mr. Montana?
I see.
Okay, now
2015.
I
yeah.
want you to look at, please, page 191 of that bundle. Keep your hand on this page, though. Look at page 199 of that bundle,
Yeah.
and you'll see the 4th last entry on that page. This is the precise trade bank account that he has given his partners.
What page are you on? 191.
191.
Okay.
You'll see there that on the 20th of February 2015, in regard to that account, there is a withdrawal of 2 million rand. That's the same date that he says he made payment in respect of the Parkwood property.
Yes, and I think that he provides that the F number, which is the property we are talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make that point.
So, Chair, I think that may suggest to me that that's the 2 million I mentioned earlier on, which is the 2 million for the settlement of the cancellation of the bond. Yeah.
Of the Parkwood property?
Yes, remember it was bonded for.
No. I'll just listen to the question,
Okay.
please, Mr. Montana. Yeah. Because I understood you to say, please turn to page 190.
Yeah.
Now, it's the previous page of that bank account.
Yeah.
You look at the first debit on that account on the 18th of June 2014.
Yeah.
That's the 2.25 million you said was in respect of the deposit or the bond on that account.
He said may have been, I think.
No, but also, Chair, let me clarify. There are three main big item payments that were made from the 6.8. The first is the 2 million. Of course, I'm not talking about the dates. The 2 million is for the cancellation of the bond. Okay. The second one is a payment for the. Sorry, there's a 2 million for the payment of the bond.
Yeah.
There's a 2 million
For the
deposit
cancellation.
to Hurlingham. And there's a 2.2 million rent to a Waterkloof property. So those are the three payments that I spoke about. Yeah.
But let's talk about this. I just want to make sure that you're right. I think when you answered the question in relation to the 2,250,000, which appears as a second or is the third transaction on page 190 yesterday, you may have answered in a more definitive way that it was for the bond. But I think later on you emphasized that you thought so, but you were not definite.
No, Chair,
Are you definite?
No, let me be definitive, Chair.
Yeah.
I'm saying the three main items that I can remember vividly.
Yeah.
When the 6.8, you remember, Chair, when you look at my accounts, at that time, you will not even find the 6.8 that is deposited into my account.
Yeah.
Usually you would see that this side and that side.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't see it is precisely is for one thing, because I then ask him, so you settle the bond cancellation comes from that amount, because I'm settling the bond. The second issue relates, that was a 2 million that was paid as deposit. And I think, Chair, that the 2 million that's mentioned once, not twice. We don't know where's the other 2 million coming from. So there's a 2 million for the bond cancellation. There's a 2 million for the deposit to Hurlingham. So those are the two. And then there's a third payment, which is basically pay for the ERF 161 Waterkloof, which I mentioned in my statements. So those three, Chair, are definite. I'm saying definitely.
You are definite about
paid.
those, yeah.
Exactly, Chair. So I can confirm that. Now that is why when I'm asked about
The 2,250,000.
the other payments here that Mr. van der Walt shares with I think they may reflect payments that he could have made to me or other people,
On your
which he then
instructions.
regard as a loan, which he mentioned is 1.3 million rands, okay, or other things that we may have done together. But from the 6.8, the three large ticket items are those, Chair: bond cancellation, which was 2 million, the deposit for Hurlingham, and as well as the payment for ERF 161 in Waterkloof.
And those three payments almost exhaust the 2.8 million, is that right? Because they each
No,
is
they
about
come
2
to
million.
about they come to about
6.8,
6.2. So there's about 600,000 left, Chair.
It's about 5.
No, they come to about 6.25. So there's about 600 left in that regard, Chair.
Okay. No, that's fine. Mr. Soni?
Mr. Montana, I'm just trying to understand, and I know you are not answerable for what Mr. van der Walt says. So to the extent that Mr. van der Walt says to his partners, as he does in 2.2 of his letter of the 28th of January, that these various payments were made in respect of the Parkwood property, save for the one marked at 2.2.1 and the one marked at 2.2.8, you are saying that the rest are not in respect of the Parkwood property.
Chair, I would say that, and I think that probably what Mr. van der Walt has done may have been to confuse, to conflate issues that are there, because I think then we'll have to, in line with Annexure 162, or rather 160, we then have to then check the statement as to where the 1.3 is talking about comes from. And when I look at the statements, not knowing them, they're not my statements, I would assume that those amounts would reflect that. So I'm not saying that they were not made, but I'm saying, so for me, Chair, that is why when people talk about my properties, I said, no, but I put my money. And that is a breakdown of that. That is why I keep on coming back. Where's the 36 million that Montana spent on properties?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Mr. Sonny?
Now, I just want to go back, and I know you're not answerable for this, but this is information before the Commission, and we must in some way try and reconcile all the facts that are before us. If you look at after the 2 million rand, he then says he, at 2.2.9, on the 23rd of March 2015, he paid 439,200.
Sorry, Mr. Sonny, are you on 190 or 198?
199.
199, so, okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. 199, okay?
Yes. He says he paid on the 23rd of March an amount of 439,200 rand. Now, he is saying he paid that in respect of the Parkwood property. Now, when one looks at the precise trade
account,
the transactional account, one doesn't find that figure there. I'm just saying that. So, even on Mr. van der Walt's version, unless he paid you from some other account, in respect of the Parkwood property, he paid you 439,200 rand less.
Well, Chair, if this is money owing to me, then my easy, Chair.
You'll be quite happy to
I'm in
receive
desperate
it.
need of money. So I think, but that's the point I'm making. So I do not even know, Chair, how Mr. van der Walt was financing his activities. Or what I can see here is that he's got a lot of activities and money is going in and out of different people. Okay? For me, I'm interested firstly on the 6.8 because it tells me how I finance my participation in the other project. So it's possible that he may have had another account. It's possible that he may have paid the other people that needed to be paid from a completely different account. And I think for me, that's why I have a problem that I'm dealing with statements that are not known. But from what Mr. Sonny is doing, to say we see what he's saying there, but we see on the other side, I don't have a problem, Chair. The Commission should do that, yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And of course, when you talk about giving instructions for Mr. van der Walt to pay, as I see it here, you accept that he was using a precise trade to make payments.
Chair, Precise Trade was his company.
Yes, it was his company.
Yes, he had. Yeah. Now you remember, I'm not part of Precise Trade.
Yes.
The issue was that where we do developments together, we'll then create joint ventures for that purpose.
Yeah.
So that was the principle around that, and I wish the only thing that will help us, Chair, to understand and to confirm or to reject that, if it's only my statements are put here on the table, Chair. And Chair,
Yes.
I think it's not too late. I think the commission should try and get my statement so that we can confirm, so that I can say it didn't come here.
Yeah.
Or I have to then get my notes where I say pay so and so, pay so and so. Now I don't have those before me, Chair, to be able to confirm that.
Well, well, Mr. Soni, maybe I should say this. I don't know what difference it would make to see what is in Mr. Montana's bank statements in this connection, in circumstances where his position is clear that I sold the property to Mr. Van der Walt for 6.8 million. Mr. Van der Walt paid that 6.8 million, and part of it may have come into my account. Part of it, different parts of it, were paid by him on my instructions to different entities. So it's not a situation where he denies that
No, absolutely.
those payments were on his instructions. So I don't know that it would make a difference.
It won't. It won't. Chair.
In fact, Chair, if you look at the letters where to for the Hurlingham property and for the Waterkloof property, he says, but there he does it from not precise. He was using the conveyancers, which is the firm that he says, we are holding this amount of money on behalf of Mr. Montana. So he makes a commitment to pay a deposit for that property.
Yeah.
Now, Chair, that is why it was very important, and you can see people who went to this firm of attorneys and collected information, they jumped that point. They jumped the fact that he'd written a letter, but not as precise this time, but as a law firm, that we've got 2 million rand for Mr. Montana that will pay. So he's providing a guarantee. When he does the same in Waterkloof, Chair, and I think that one of the letters I may not have included, because I didn't know that we were going to go this route. So it was not that, but now I see these letters confirm what he holds on my behalf from the sale of that particular property. Now, and that is why Mr. Oleman was saying, Montana paid for this property, didn't have money. Because he'll say that if he jumps an important letter, Chair, and that is why the importance of proper investigations. You jump that letter that says, you will not know, everybody moves from the premise that in Hurlingham I didn't pay. I paid 2 million, Chair, from the proceeds of the sale. When my bag went to Pretoria for the second property, and I see he's been tweeting about it yesterday, he doesn't know that the proceeds of that payment comes from the sale of my house. Why are they doing that, Chair? Because they are not interested in that. They're interested in another narrative. That no. Montana got money, got a kickback, and paid for his property, Chair.
Yes. At least I think we are clear that it's not necessary to go into Mr. Montana's statements because of the position he has taken.
Yes.
But Chair, I'm making a commitment that if my statements become available,
yes,
the commission wants to probe me,
yes,
I'll come back, Chair. Even if I come in my pajamas, I'll come and answer, Chair.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Now, Mr. Montana, we must get on, I'm afraid. Please, can I ask you to turn now to Bundle H, page 57.
That's the same bundle we are using, or is it a different one?
It's, sorry, it's, so
Is
we
it
were
the same
looking
that we
at
have?
G with the
Or we
bank
were using
account.
G?
Yeah, now we're looking at H.
Oh.
This is Mr. Alleman's, the annexes to Mr. Alleman's report. Chair.
Okay.
What page, Mr. Soni?
Page 57. Now, you remember in respect of the offer to purchase, which is PP2, which appears at page 46. On the 5th of May, you sold this property. We were at that yesterday. I just want to refer you to the addendum to the sale, and it starts at paragraph, page 57 of SS 16. It's called Addendum to Offer to Purchase, and you agree that this is the addendum to the sale of the property by yourself to Precise Trade, the property at Parkwood.
So I don't remember, but I see it's signed by Mitchell. Let me just quickly remind myself. I see that, Chair.
Okay, I just want to.
Can I just raise this for the sake of clarity? Mr. Montana, I know you have been saying you had a relationship with Mr. van der Vaart. Just noting that, for example, this addendum and the purchase is between yourself and Precise Trade as an entity.
Indeed, Chair.
Would it be more accurate to say your relationship was with Precise Trade as a legal entity, but of course Mr. van der Vaart was the sole director or shareholder, and because you were not selling the property to him in his personal capacity, you were selling to his company.
No, I sold it to him in his personal capacity, Chair.
Oh, okay.
But he decided to use that as a vehicle.
Okay.
Now, we don't know in other developments
Yes.
what other vehicles he would use if we had proceeded
Yes.
with our relationship.
Yes.
So, Chair, I think that the relationship was with him.
With him.
Personally.
Yeah,
The
but
fact that he decided to use
a
Precise
certain vehicle.
for that, it is
Yeah,
his own
okay.
decision.
Okay.
Yes,
No,
Chair.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Now,
Of course, you would have no objection if he used a certain vehicle, as long as he was behind that vehicle and you continued with, you achieved the objectives of the relationship.
Chair, I think that if you look, let's use the example of Hurlingham to answer that question.
Yeah.
I put 2 million, and I said to him, would you partner with me? He said, no, I will not have the money to come into that relationship. And he introduced me to some other people.
Yeah.
And I entered into an agreement with them.
Yeah.
So it's the nature of the business, Chair. It's the nature of the animal, yeah.
It would just depend on the business.
On the business and where money is, Chair.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes you may want to use. I mean, in my
Yeah.
case, I've had a situation where the bank says, we can't expand your facility. So that created a bit of a problem for me. So that's what it is, Chair.
Okay, no, that's fine, yeah. Mr. Sonnen?
as you please, Chairperson. Now, Mr. Montana, can I just ask you to look at page 58, paragraph 2.1 of the addendum?
Yeah.
And that reflects, if I could just go through it very quickly, that says that it would be your obligation as the seller to complete and install on the property the swimming pool to be properly fitted, the kitchen to be replaced, the construction on top of the garage to be completed, the tiling in the inside the house to be completed, renovations to bathrooms must be completed, and finalization of security system. That's an obligation those are the obligations that were placed on you by virtue of this.
It is true, except that subsequent to our conversation, we had agreed, because in some instances, when he wanted, I remember, for example, with the kitchen, he wanted me to install different kind of, what do you call it? What do you call it?
Appliances.
The appliances. So I think I wanted to put different ones. If I remember very well, he wanted different ones. I said, look, if you don't want that, you want that, then we're going to put it on your account. So that's the kind of thing. But largely, this captures, for example, the pool. I remember I did the pool chair. So we did some of that work, and I think that most of those were for my account chair.
Now, at 2.3, it says the parties specifically agree that all the above costs will be for the account of the seller.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay. And then, of course, the one you referred to, and I've already referred you to at paragraph 3.1, that Mr. Zamkaka was residing on the premises, and you've explained to the chairperson already the circumstances that you thought he would be in danger if he lived in town. That's the point you made.
That's correct, Chair.
And then there was to be payment of at least 20,000 Rand per month by Mr. Zamkaka for occupying the premises. I just want, and please, a yes or no. Do you know whether Mr. Zamkaka paid the rental as per this agreement?
Well, Chair, I think that my understanding is that he stayed there for long and he was paying for rental, yeah. Okay. But whether he paid there every month, I don't know, Chair. I wouldn't know.
And Mr. van der Walt never complained to you?
No, not as far as I can recall.
I say that because of this. When one looks at the bank account, transactional account, yeah, one doesn't see deposits of 20,000 Rand. I'm just pointing that out in case you want to comment. Okay, but it's not a matter that concerns you.
Yes, Chair, but you recall, Mr. Soni, when you spoke about the 439, it's reflected in his explanation, but it's not showing in the statements, which is possible that we don't, unless if we have that contract between the two of them, and to see which account was used. So it may suggest that he was not having one account, as it were, Chair. But again, it's not my story. I wouldn't get involved in it.
Okay, don't then, please. Can I then ask you to, in regard to now, what happened in regard to the improvements? There are certain emails which start at page 60. And can I ask you to please first look at page 61? And that's an email from yourself. You'll see right on the top, dated the 10th of June, sent at about noon to Mr. van der Walt. And you say, "Dear Rian, can I request that we pay from the proceeds of the sale of my house an amount of 79,576 Rand and 92 cents for interior work done for me. The payment should be made to the following: Team Austin." You recall that?
I see that. I think it's my email. I think I can confirm that.
Okay. And then if you look at page 60, his response to you on the following, 3 or 4 days later is from Mr. Rian van der Walt. He says, "Hi, Lucky. Hope you are well. Take note that I could not do the payment due to the bank account being invalid." I'm just pointing out to you that this is among the documents that relate to the Parkwood property.
Thank you.
That's correct, right? Then, can I ask you to please look at page 63, where on the 30th of June 2014, you say to him, "Dear Rian," and in the second paragraph, I am under pressure to start paying the contractor for additional work and his own suppliers from the proceeds of the sale, as well as start realizing the savings of my monthly installments of the bond.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sonny, are you at 63?
At
Are you
page
at page
63, yes. I'm not reading the whole email, Chairperson. I'm just reading.
But at least tell us where you're starting from.
Oh,
because
sorry.
I'm getting lost where you are
sorry.
reading from.
It's the last sentence of the second
paragraph. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, Chairperson.
Okay, now I see, yeah, okay.
But you then ask him to make those payments.
Let me just, so that sentence says, I'm under pressure to start paying the contractor for additional work and his own suppliers from the proceeds of the sale, as well as start realizing the savings of my monthly installment of the bond. Yeah, okay, all right, continue.
And then you say, in the meantime, I request, this is the next paragraph, I request you to make the following urgent payments from the proceeds of the sale, and we could reconcile the numbers when the property is finally registered. You did send that email.
No, Chair, I confirm that, yeah.
Okay, and I just want to, we don't need to go into details. The amounts are, in respect of the city of Johannesburg, 150,000 Rand, and in respect of
Sinkindi, yeah.
projects, 350,000 Rand. And I say
Sinkindi will be SINCINTI, Sinkindi Projects Company, that's for the transcribers. Yes.
350,000 Rand. And then, in respect of a credit card from ABSA, which seems to be in your name, an amount of 250,000 Rand. And then an invoice of 110,000 Rand with the reference TL Montana. You confirm you sent that email with that request?
I confirm that, Chair.
All right. Then can I ask you to turn to page 65, please? And that's an email from a Jasper Nukwa, I think it is, where they say, good morning, GCEO. It's addressed to you, and it says attached are proposed designs for number 10. And that obviously is
Newport.
number 10, Newport, yes. And you see the rest of the following pages until page 71 are copies of the design that are being sent to you. You confirm receiving that?
I confirm that, Chair.
Okay. And then if I can ask you to please look at page 72, and that's another email from Mr. Nukwa. This is on the 19th of August 2014. And the subject, it's addressed to you. The subject matter is Newport Master Bedroom, and it says GCEO. The attached 3Ds are in fact part of the set of what I forwarded you on Friday. And again, are contained drawings or 3D drawings of the master bedrooms. Is that correct? Sorry, Mr. Montana, I'm not being difficult. It's just you need to reflect your answer.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Sorry.
Then can I ask you to look at page 77? Again, this is now from Mr. Justin John. It's addressed to you. It's dated the 2nd of September 2014, and it deals with the Newport master bedroom, and the email reads, Good morning, Mr. Montano. Hope you are well. I'm still waiting to get approval and a deposit to start the master bedroom. And then he says in the second paragraph, I have not yet received the balance of 165,000 Rand for the kitchen. It was supposed to be paid by the end of July. You received that email, Mr.
Chair, I confirm that, Chair.
Then can I ask you to please look at page 84. This is
One page?
page 84, sorry.
84, okay.
This is an email from yourself dated the 21st of October 2014 to Mr. van der Walt. And you say, Dear Rian, this invoice is for the design, manufacture and installation of the modern kitchen units. In addition, I have spent 40,000 Rand for the appliances purchased from Miele in Johannesburg. I will forward the invoices from Miele as well. And then you say, I trust that you will find this in order. And the invoices you send to him go up to page 94. Is that correct, Ms. Montana?
So I see it starts from page 91.
Yes. Well, there are various other documents. You'll see just interiors.
But I thought this one was part of, the chair was part of the, what is it called?
Of page 84, this invoice is for the design, manufacture, and so on.
From Just Interiors.
Yes.
Yes, Chair, I see that.
Right. Now, just at page 94, the amount reflected towards the end is 525,787 Rand 50 cents. You see that it's the third line from the bottom.
Yes, Chair, but the page is, I see the numbers. I don't see the heading here.
Yes.
From 91.
Yes.
What is it? What is it? Is it an annexure to Just Interiors? Because I see only numbers here. There's no heading at all. I don't know what it's all about.
So can I just ask you, you are not in a position to tell us what this is about?
Well, he is simply saying, Mr. Sani, these pages from 91 onwards, it's just numbers. There's nothing to indicate what the numbers are about, what they relate to. He's asking whether it is an annexure to something or it's a standalone document.
It's the documents we've uplifted from the Siangena application.
But do we know what they represent?
Do
you know what they represent?
We only, it would appear that they are part of, or they were attached to the email at page 84.
Mm-hmm. But you are not sure about it, I guess.
I can't take that further.
Yes. Yes.
Chair, I don't know, Chair.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
There's actually if you look at the Just Interiors, all the information, all the amount we mentioned in an email. Now these numbers look different. I think I think they probably relate to something else.
Okay.
So I don't know, Chair.
Yeah.
I can't deny or confirm. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Can I just ask you to look at page 95? And I accept what you are saying.
95.
They don't make sense to me as well. I was hoping you would be able to help.
Yeah.
This then is an email you sent on the 21st of October to Mr. van der Walt in regard to now the Miele appliances, and you say to him, this is the
Appliances. Yeah.
the Miele appliances I paid for, and it looks like it's about 40,000 rand for that. Okay.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, where do you see the amount, Mr. Sonny? Yeah, I thought you said 40,000 rand.
Chairperson, I may have had it in my head based on page 84, where Mr. Montana says to Mr. van der Walt, I have spent over 40,000 rand for the appliances purchased from Miele.
Okay, but at least the amount does not appear on page
It doesn't
95.
appear, no,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Montana, oh, sorry, Chairperson. Can I ask you to please look at page 97? And you'll see the amount right at the bottom. This is it's marked Miele customer order, and the surname of the person who ordered it is said to be Mr. Montana, and you'll see the total order value is 40,448 rand.
Yes, I see that, yeah. So you
One
think that's
sees-
where you got the...
This is where,
number
and
from?
I just
Yeah.
was not,
Yeah, okay, all right.
but it also ties in with that email earlier.
Yes, okay, no, that's all right.
Okay, now, Mr. Montana, I know it's a difficult exercise because these are emails you sent and received a long time ago,
Yeah.
and some of them are not in order. But leaving that aside, I just want to ask you a few questions about these emails. You say to Mr. van der Walt, and I've read you those emails, please pay those amounts. Did he pay them?
Well, Chair, I think some of them, for example, the other one, he said there's a bank problem. He didn't pay. I see the one of Just Interiors, I think that he was not paid. And then there's I see the 110 for the catering chair. I think it was paid. This was for, if I remember well, there was a function of a farewell function from one of the...
No, Mr. Montana, I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
no, I'm confirming some of them, Chair, yes.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure, Chair, as I'm sitting here, if all of them have been paid, but I can confirm some that I see.
Yeah.
For example,
Okay.
that I remember vividly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But Mr. van der Walt paid them.
Chair, remember that Mr. van der Walt paid from the proceeds of the sale, yeah.
All right. Now,
So I think that answer is yes, Mr. van der Walt paid, but from the proceeds of the sale of the property.
Indeed, Chair. But
Yeah.
if you look at that email that was read, Mr. Sonny read, it says pay from the proceeds, will then reconcile what is due. But it says pay
Yeah.
from the proceeds of the sale, Chair.
Okay.
now, one issue that intrigues me. I read to you the various matters that the addendum required you to attend to.
Yeah.
It didn't require you to attend to the bedroom. And I ask you why you fitted, why you installed and made all those improvements to the bedroom when there was no obligation on you to do so.
No, Chair, you see, it shouldn't intrigue anyone. The relationship between myself and Mr. van der Walt was deeper than that. And I think that if you look at the items, some of the items are not listed there. But for example, I think we didn't talk about, in the addendum, we didn't talk about interiors. But we had constant meetings before the property was transferred. Some of the things where he wanted changes on the property, to say, no, look, I think that we must change all of that. But, and I don't know, I need to check the dates, by the way, Chair, because I think some of them are not related. The Mr. Mnukwa's design thing was not related to Mr. van der Walt. I think that we, if I remember well, we had built, for example, a big wall. We wanted to change that and break into half, put wallpaper. So there was a lot of work, Chair, that was done. So, so yeah, I think that those were the details. That was what was happening at that point in time. Yeah.
So, Mr. Montana, I'm testing your state of mind now.
Yeah. At the time or now?
No, at that time.
Yes.
We have a situation where you sell a house for 6.8 million rand. You agree then after the sale, 6 weeks after the sale, to do improvements to the house, which the original sale agreement didn't require you to. That's correct, right?
Yes and no, Chair. The sale agreement didn't require these things, but I'm saying that there was constant interaction between myself and Mr. Rian van der Walt. If you look at, for example, at the kitchen, like I explained earlier, he wanted, for example, certain things to be done there. And that those who said, well, if you want that, it will be for your account. And so I think that it was a more dynamic relationship, Chair, that we had with Mr. van der Walt. Unless if you say that we didn't act strictly in line with the, what is it called, with the offer to purchase, probably we didn't with hindsight, but I don't have a problem with that, Chair. The nature of the relationship with Mr. van der Walt was such that we were working together on many properties, and I said earlier on that there were many transactions beyond even what we have here, Chair. We are looking at a specific property, and maybe everything doesn't fit in there, but I think that what we can confirm, I think that was that we had a sale, and some of this were paid from the proceeds of that sale, Chair.
And the answer basically to that question is yes. Some of the things you did were not required by the sale agreement.
That's correct, Chair.
But you are simply relying on the nature of your relationship to say, well, I did some of the things even though, strictly speaking, the sale agreement did not require them.
Indeed, Chair. Chair, let's take one example. I said yesterday, when Mr. van der Walt took over the property in Waterkloof, I'm giving that as an example. We probably may come to that. I said that some of the initial work were people that were mobilized by me, that I paid for them. Okay? People to come and do the break and all of those. They were organized by me from Mamelodi. I paid these people, Chair. So that was the nature of the animal, and it may intrigue someone, but if you talk about strictly, what is it called, the sale, and close up everything. Yes, I mean, you'll say there's a problem. But if you understand the nature of the relationship and what we're involved in, Chair, I don't think it should intrigue anyone.
Okay. Mr. Sonny?
Can I ask you to please look at page 49 of that bundle? That's part of the original sale agreement. I'm going to read paragraph 9.3 to you in light of what you've said. Paragraph 9.3 of the agreement, or clause 9.3 of the agreement says, the parties hereto being Precise Trade and yourself agreed that this agreement constitutes the entire agreement between them and that no warranties or representations other than those contained herein shall be binding on any of the parties or their agents, nor are there any suspensive conditions to this agreement which are not included herein. No variation, alteration, or consensual cancellation of the agreement shall be of any force or effect unless reduced to writing and signed by both parties. Now, I'm just saying there is this clause. You are saying effectively that we went beyond the terms of the agreement, the strict terms specifically set out in 9.3. That is your answer to the questions I have asked. That be right?
Chair,
Uh,
I think the answer is yes, Mr. Mudana.
no, but Chair, I think that I think you made your it's yes, Chair, but I wanted to explain
yes.
something, and the point.
I'll tell
is,
you why I'm saying that.
Yes.
It's because I think you have explained it before. I think twice actually.
Chair, if the point, I agree with you, Chair.
Yeah, you have, so
The point has come back. Let me make it quickly before I forget,
Yeah.
Chair. You see, Chair, if there was a legal dispute between Mr. van der Walt and I, that clause was going to play an important role. There was none.
Yes,
And-
but that's not what he's asking for. So that's why I say your answer is yes, we went beyond.
It's yes, Chair.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make, Chair, I still
Yeah.
need to make this point because I think it's very important. The State Capture Commission will not hold Montana and Van der Walt for not sticking strictly to that, Chair. Unless if there is a dispute between the parties, yeah.
Yes, no, I don't think that until Mr. Soni makes another point,
Point,
for
yeah.
now, your answer is yes, we
Yes,
went
yes.
beyond what the
Yeah.
sales agreement said.
But let me make that point, Mr. Montana. And people may say, well, here's an agreement which says a house is sold for 6.8 million rand. You'll recall that a year earlier, Ursula Wills had said that the value of the house was 3.5 million. And
Just hang on one second, Mr. Soni. The aircon, if it can be adjusted, it's making it difficult to hear. I think they've heard me, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
One of the questions I must be expected to ask in these circumstances is, this agreement then would protect people, you and Mr. van der Walt, in the event of a dispute, or it could be the cover to say that this puts on paper something that's not the reality.
Chair, I'm glad Mr. Soni is actually coming back to his real intention. Okay? Let me start. We started with 36 million. And I was asking deliberately, Chair. Now, the first thing that we have was that before Mr. Soni would make that statement, he'll ask the first question: was there a house? Was it sold? Was it transferred? And who and this property, how was it acquired? Now, I think from a factual position, Chair, you can see that the reason why we paid, and I think Mr. Soni in his questions raises a number of things. So, Chair, I think that even before I even answer answer Mr. Soni. The facts of the matter speak for themselves. And you see, I say in my statement, there's been this desperate attempt to link a whole range of things. Yesterday I say it is you are guilty by association. Now, the house has been sold, Chair. Now, if I sell, I may have different reasons why I sell the house. The house that I sold was financed by ABSA, and I provided all my properties. I provided my bank statements, and that is why Mr. Soni, Chair, wanted us to deal with 4 properties and not all my properties, precisely because it was aimed at denying the fact that there are proceeds from this which are mine. I'm entitled to them because it's my property. Once I pay the bank, the rest of the money belongs to me. I can invest it as I wish. So that is the first thing. And I think that if there was no sale, there was a sale created in the air, there was no actual sale. Now, if the sale has happened, anybody can attach their own motive why Montana sold this property. It has happened, it's there, it's fair. I want somebody to say there was no such a property transaction. That's one thing. The second thing, Chair, we're told about 3 numbers. You'll see that in one of the papers they say the valuation was 3.3. Well, Ashla Willis had said it's 3.5 in 2012, not when the property was sold, Chair. You'll see that the email is very specific. Because at that time we were discussing, and he says, if you dispose of that property, he mentioned 2 properties, Chair. The bank, Ashla Willis from ABSA, says, if you dispose of that property, we'll want this X amount of money because we value it at this amount. If you dispose of another property, we'll want this amount of money, and here's the value of it. Okay? Now, a year or 2 later, somebody says the property is not valued at that amount. They said in some of the affidavits, they said the property should have been sold for 4.8 million rands. Now, surely you can see, Chair, all the stuff Mr. Soni has been taking me through, all these improvements that he says they fall outside number 9.3. If that work happened, and we paid for those things, it in fact tells you that the enormous investment that has taken place in that property. Okay? Now, it doesn't make sense when you say the bank 4 or 5 years ago says this property is 3.5 million rands, and you list here all the work that has been done and the payments. I've just been asked about the payments. Actually, if there's someone who would be intrigued, Chair, in this time, it would be most intrigued that when you put money into a property, you increase the value of the property tremendously. And I think that if you look at the pictures of this property that I bought, I said a day before yesterday, it was a complete wreck. There's a complete wreck which we built. We actually had to rebuild. If there's commission at time, it will go to the previous owners. I think the old man died, but the daughters are there. They'll say, take us there to the property. They'll tell you that this is a completely new property that has been built. So, Chair, I think I reject this statement with contempt. And I know, Chair, let me tell you, if I take further what Mr. Soni is saying. You see, the surprise on yesterday was Monday, Chair. When we came here, the story of the 36 million rand hinged on a number of things. I've said 3 things, Chair, when I was here yesterday. The first one was that 4 of the properties that we're discussing are not my properties, they are Mr. van der Waal's properties. And 7 of the properties are mine. And I detailed each one of them, how they were paid for, which one I sold, how much money I've made out of that. That is the first issue. Secondly, when the commission made its assertions, it didn't actually, particularly with 2 of the properties they elevated, Hallingham, they didn't know that I put money. I paid the deposit for that amount. So the noise was that Montana didn't put any money. And I thought that if we are assisting the commission to get to the truth, when certain new facts emerge, like they emerged yesterday, surely that I think that we should be able to also change our position and say, now what happened after between myself and Rian van der Walt, or precise trade in respect of improvements and all of those things. There are details here, but are they material to the story that I sold the property? And the answer is no. They're not material to it. But the story that this agreement is false, I hope that the commission will present me with supporting evidence to say, and I know, Chair, I've said the story comes from, yesterday I explained, it's a Paul O'Sullivan story. He presented and said it in that way. The commission has now elevated false evidence. O'Sullivan says in his affidavit, Montana is engaged in all these properties because it's part
But
of
the short answer to Mr. Soni's question, your short answer is you are saying the facts are there was a property, that property was sold, that property was paid for, and you have said that you gave instructions as to how certain payments should be made from the proceeds.
And Chair, I agree, Chair, and also that I reject with contempt the last statement where you say other people may say this was a transaction for other things.
Yeah.
Chair, I've never been presented with evidence here that suggests otherwise, so let it be put before me and then we deal with it in that way. But I reject it, Chair.
Mr. Soni? Oh,
It is.
I see it is,
yes.
yeah. Let's take the tea break. And let's resume at 22. Right. We are adjourned. let's continue.
As you please, Chairperson. Mr. Montana, I now want to deal with the waterproof property. And I want you to please turn to page 105 of bundle bundle H, and exhibit SS 18. 105.
Switch on your mic, Mr. Montana.
Sorry, Chair. 105. I'm there, Mr. Soni.
As you please. Mr. Montana, this is an agreement that was entered into between Anmani Guest House and Johann Smith as a trustee of the Minor Property Trust. You see that?
That's correct, Chair.
Now, the Minor Property Trust is a trust you formed for the benefit of your children.
That's correct.
And Mr. Johann Smith is the trustee of that trust.
That's correct, Chair.
That trust is still in existence, I take.
Still in existence, Chair.
And is Mr. Smith still the trustee?
I think Mr. Smith resigned, but there were three trustees. It was him, someone else, and my nephew.
And who are the present trustees?
I think there are two now. I was meant to be appointed after Mr. Smith resigned. If I remember well, I think this is Mr. Johan Taljar, who works with Mr. Smith, and then I think is my nephew Jedwin Montana.
Now, this agreement starting at page 105 is for the sale of the members' interest in the Anmani Guest House CC. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct, Chair.
This is when we've talked about the general properties, and you dealt with it yesterday. This is the waterproof property.
That's correct, Chair.
This is at Rose Avenue.
That's correct.
Now, can I just ask you to please look at clause 2 of the agreement, which appears at page 106.
Yeah.
And it says the purchase price of the property amounts to 11 million rand, and it will be paid as follows. 2.1, a deposit in the amount of 3.5 million rand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then that amount was to be non-refundable. And then at 2.4, it says the security for the payment of the balance of the purchase price of 7.5 million rand, the purchasers shall be obliged to render approved bank guarantees. That's correct. At 2.4.
I see that, Chair.
Now, this agreement was signed on the 25th of August 2014. Is that correct? If you look at page 110, you'll see that.
Chair, the agreement is it's valid, so I can't recall the exact date. I don't think it was signed by me, it was signed by Mr. Smith, so I can't recall the exact date, but yes, it was entered into between the parties.
But you don't know who signed on behalf of the purchaser. The signature is not familiar to you. If you look at page 110.
Yeah, it does not appear to be Montana's, Mr.
No,
Montana's one.
it's certainly not.
But I thought that this was signed by, Mr., looks like Mr. Smith's signature, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
the last part of the signature does look like TH.
Yes, yes.
It does look like TH. But did you know Mr. Smith's signature? Did you know how he signs?
No, Chair, not really.
Oh.
Not really.
Okay. But obviously,
But I think
Maybe-
he should be the person who signed, Chair.
Yeah.
Also,
as far as your knowledge goes, he's the one who should have signed.
Who should have signed, Chair.
Yeah. Would you know the signatures of the other two trustees? Are you able to exclude them and say, no, this can't
No,
be
Chair,
their
they
signatures?
wouldn't have signed because I think for the minor property trust, Mr. Smith was the authorized trustee
Okay,
on these transactions, yes.
okay. So would you say, as far as you are concerned, this should be his signature?
It should be his signature.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Montana, can I then ask you to please look at bundle G, page 199.
Okay?
Now, you'll recall that 2.1 of the agreement that was between the guest house and the minor property trust said that a deposit of 3.5 million rand had to be paid within 14 days from the signature. You accept that, Mr.
I accept that, Chair. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you look at page 199 of Bundle G, that again is a document we've been dealing with quite often. This is Mr. van der Waal's explanation to his partners about how the various payments were made.
Yep.
And at paragraph 4, where he deals with paragraph 6 of their letter to him, and I'll just say this to you, this relates to the waterproof property because that's what they had raised with him. He says in respect of that at paragraph 4.1, the purchase price was 11 million rand. That ties in with the purchase price as reflected in the agreement. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then he says at paragraph 4.2, the payment of the purchase price at 4.2.1, he says on the 23rd of September 2014, an amount of 3.5 million rand was paid of the deposit. Now, can I ask
I'm sorry,
you-
Mr. Sonny.
Yes.
In my ears, it sounded like you were saying 6.5.
Oh, sorry.
It's 3.5.
It's 3.5, sorry.
Yeah. Is that
I
what you heard
apologize.
also, Mr. Montana? Or you didn't hear that part?
No, did you hear that part, Chair?
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
hear the numbers. yeah.
it is 3.5.
Yeah,
Chairperson.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Now, I'd like you now to just on that same document, SS16, if you could go to page 190, that's the transactional account.
Yeah.
If you look at the entry on the 23rd, there are two entries on the 23rd of September. And the first entry on the 23rd.
Just
of-
Mr. Son, let me get the.
Oh, sorry.
You are on page 190.
190.
190. Okay?
Okay, so you'll see there are, in the middle of the page, two entries on the 23rd of September. The first entry reflects a deposit of 3.5 million rand.
That's correct.
And in Mr. van der Waal's handwriting, it is said to be a TMM loan. You see that? Mr. Montana?
I see that. I see two TMM loans
Yes.
at the top and at the bottom, Chair.
Yes. Well, the top one we've been through already
Yeah.
because those deposits preceded the 2.25 million rand guarantee paid in respect of the Parkwood property. Now, this is on the 23rd of September,
Yep.
a deposit of 3.5 million rand. And then the next entry for the 23rd is a withdrawal of that exact amount, 3.5 million rand. You confirm that, Mr. Montana?
So it's the withdrawal from this account.
Yes.
Okay, Chair.
And then you'll see that the citation is given as minor property trust loan.
Okay.
So he says at page 199, 4.2.1, that precise trade paid in respect of the Waterkloof property that amount on the 23rd, and you'll see it's reflected as that payment is reflected in the transactional bank account. You accept that, Mr. Montana?
No, Chair.
You don't?
No. Chair, I think yesterday I explained. Precise, what is it called? Minor property trust never paid for the property. When we were looking at buying the property, and I think that I'm glad that it's now called by its right name, it's a guest house. What is it called? Animani guest house. So when the first offer that went to the bank, you recall, Chair, was, I mentioned yesterday, after the offer of 11 million rands was made, the bank said no, the value of the property was below that. So we then agreed with Rian that, look, why don't we then pay for the difference, the bank to pay, to give us the loan at the amount that has been, and there's a difference that has to be paid in that way. And therefore it was then agreed that no, what Precise will do, then the property will be registered in the name of minor property trust. But that transaction never went ahead. Precise Trade paid, Chair, and that is why when we couldn't get the finance from the bank, okay? So Precise Trade, you paid the 3.5, and the development is right there. So that is why Mr. Rian van der Vaart bought the property and registered that in his name, Chair. So the property mentioned doesn't belong to minor property trust or to me. It belongs to Mr. Rian van der Vaart. It's registered in the name of Precise Trade.
We're going to come to that. I'm reflecting, Mr. Montana, because Mrs. De Beer deals with that in the statement which I'm going to take you to at the moment. But I just want to say that, and please, you must appreciate that it is the duty of the Commission to look at all the evidence. We have the letter of Mr. van der Vaart, which says that in respect of the Waterkloof property, he paid from this account 3.5 million rand. It is reflected in the bank account. I'm just putting that to you so that the chairperson has the full record in front of him, of course, with your explanation. But let's put all the facts on the table first.
So the facts are that Precise Trade paid the 3.5. It came from their account. Those are the facts.
Okay. Now, the next thing not the next thing, but the more important development after that, as you've already pointed out, is that agreement came to nothing.
Yes.
And if I can ask you then to look at page 111 of bundle H. This now is an agreement entered into between Arnmany Guest House and Precise Trade.
That's correct.
That's the agreement you were talking about, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, it starts at page 111, and you will see it goes up to page 116.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you'll see the signature of the purchaser at the bottom. Would I be correct to say that that signature
That's
appears to be that of
that
Mr.
is
van der
Van der Walt indeed.
Okay. Now, that agreement is dated the 28th of February, is that correct?
I see that, Chair.
Now,
Is
can
that is that February, Chair? The way I see 28, but that month I don't know whether it's doesn't look February to me.
What page are you, Mr. Soni?
Page
Oh, sorry,
116.
116.
116, okay.
The signature of Mr. Van der Walt is there, but Chair, the month I'm not sure. I don't think it's February.
Yes, there's no signature for the seller.
No, there isn't a signature. No, there isn't a signature. All right, perhaps Ms. De Beer's affidavit will clear that up. We'll just keep that in mind. Can we just move past that? I just want to ask you to look at page 112, which reflects again the terms of the agreement, certainly in regard to price. It says the purchase price amounts to 11 million rand, and 2.1 then says a deposit in the amount of 3.5 million rand, which amount has already been paid.
Yep.
That is obviously the amount we looked at from Precise Trade's account.
I agree, Chair.
And then it says the balance will be paid by way of guarantees. Now, can I then ask you, because Ms. De Beer makes a statement about this, she's also given evidence, and you've commented on her. But she gives a commentary on how these various developments took place. I'd just like to place that on record.
But where can we go to an affidavit to
Yes.
to look
yes.
specific on what she's saying, Chair?
Yes, yes. I want us to now look, her affidavit is at page 121.
1, 2.
So I'm not going to read everything, Mr. Montano. I'll just tell you where I'm reading from.
Yeah.
It's made by Mr. De Beer, Ms. Karen De Beer. Her name appears in the first line of the affidavit itself. And then she says in paragraph 2, the first sentence, I used to be the owner of the property situated at 225 Rose Street, Waterkloof, Pretoria. And I owned it through my company, Anne-Marie Guest House. Then she says, I decided in or about the end of 2012 to sell the property, and I subsequently entered into a contract with a certain Lucky Montana to sell the property. And she says, I attach a copy of the contract. Now I ask you to look at page 123. That document appear familiar to you, Mr. Montana?
One 123.
123. This is document is titled Deed of Sale of Members' Interest, and then it says Memorandum of an Agreement entered into between Karen de Beer and Mr. Montana. You accept that?
Accept that.
And that, I can ask you to go to page 130. You will see the signatures of the contracting parties. In the middle of the page is Mr. Beer's signature. That's the 10th of February 2013. And then under that is the signature of the purchaser, also on the 10th of February 2013. That's your signature, isn't it?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so that's the agreement she refers to, and then just because it's just part of the historical facts, we can go back to the affidavit. It says,
In what page again was that?
oh, sorry, page 121, Mr. Montana. And then she says, Mr. Montana was buying my interest in the property for the sum of 10.5 million rand. That was the price you and she had agreed upon. Is that correct, Mr. Montana?
That's correct, yes.
All right. Then at paragraph 3, the third line from the bottom, the third line from the bottom, he says, the deal eventually fell through as there was one problem after another, and Montana claimed the bank would not pay the bond, which I did not believe, as there was more than enough value. I decided to withdraw the property from the market. Now, getting her adverse comments about you, that deal did fall through, is that correct?
No, it didn't work, Chair, but I think it was not because of problems, and that is why I want to see, Chair, the copy of the email from Ashla Willis from the bank. She refers to that. I attach a copy of an email sent out dated 11 March 20 by Ashla Willis of Absa Bank, who gave the address for delivery of the approved building plans as, I don't know, is it attached here, Chair?
It's not.
But I think it's very important, Chair.
It's not, Mr. Montana.
But why not?
Because we are dealing with a deal that didn't go through. We are now dealing with the payment or the subsequent agreement in regard to the minor trust.
No, but Chair,
I'm sorry, Mr. Montana. What document are you
I'm in
talking
page
about?
121, Chair.
Yes.
The affidavit of Mrs.
De
De
Beer.
Beer.
Yeah.
She says in paragraph 3, I attach a copy of an email sent out dated 11 March 20 by Ashla Willis. You remember Ashla Willis is
Yes,
the lady
yes.
who was dealing with my
Yeah.
properties from Absa.
Yeah.
And I think, Chair, is very important because,
Who gave the address for delivery?
yes, I think that email is very important, Chair.
Yeah.
Because you remember, the reason why that deal didn't go through is very important. And that is why I think it's very vital. It will tell you if I have applied to the bank through a facility, and the bank says this property is valued at 7.5, whatever the case may be. So there was that gap between the 10.5 and, okay, and that explains, Chair, why we then wanted to create a loan between the 7.5 and the, what is it called, the 7.5 and the 10.5,
Yes.
which was what was offered.
Yes.
So that email is material, because if you leave it out, Chair,
Yeah.
and
No.
I think it's very vital.
I don't think you need to persuade me that if one leaves it out, what the position is. If the affidavit says it attaches an annexure, that annexure should be there if it is available. If it is not available, that's different, because otherwise the affidavit is not complete if it refers to an annexure and the annexure is not there. And do you know, Mr. Sonny, whether Mr. Beer has got the annexure somewhere, that email? Because she says in the affidavit, I attach a copy of the email.
We, as I say, you'll see, Chairperson, on Ms. De Beer's statement, you'll see there's a number 2911 right on the top right-hand side.
Yes, yes.
That we uplifted again from the documents in the Siangena file.
Yes.
And the Siangena court application.
Yes. And then the email was not there.
This is what I was.
You don't know whether.
No.
No, but
Yeah.
Chair, can I object to that? You see, I thought, you recall yesterday I mentioned the fact that various people were forced by Mr. O'Sullivan to file particular statements. It was written, it was even written for them, and they told them it was from the Hawks. Now, this affidavit, if Ms. De Beer came and deposed to an affidavit to the commission, it must be here with all the information.
Yeah.
Now, and the reason why I'm saying that, Chair, because if you look at the entire paragraph,
This was 2015. It wasn't deposed to the commission. I think it must have been for other purposes.
yes, Chair, but,
Yeah.
but you can see that even the sworn statement is a sworn statement rather than a Chair, fully fledged affidavit that answers the questions of the commission. You see, and that's what I've been telling you to say, the commission cannot take documents from a particular matter if there's no proper context. And in this particular regard, Chair, the reason why the deal didn't happen is very important. She gives her own view. She says the deal eventually fell through as there was one problem after another, and Montana claimed the bank would not pay the bond, which I did not believe, as there was more than enough value. I decided to withdraw the property from the market. Now, Chair, that is very important because it will then explain the other things that are there. And I think, Chair, that we need, is either this statement doesn't stand, is not a complete, doesn't meet the requirements of the commission, because it's not good enough to be told that the statement, we've uplifted it. Now, Mr. Soni yesterday was saying to me, we are separate from we've got our own investigators separate from Werksman's investigation. This is Werksman's at play, Chair. Now I'm answering questions on people who never interviewed me, who broke into my property, who fought with me. And I come and must answer the statements that are there. But yesterday, Chair, I'm glad I put it on record. I insist, Chair, that this email, probably the commission is in touch with Mrs. De Beer, so that we can see that we can't take only one part of what she's saying, because it's material to what happens in this transaction after, and the reason why we did not proceed with the transaction. Chair.
So you say that email will throw light
We'll throw light, Chair.
on the reasons why it did
Exactly,
not
Chair,
proceed.
because if we don't have it,
Yeah.
we are now going back to the realm of speculation,
Yeah.
and particularly negative speculation, where you withhold certain information. I think it must be here, Chair, so that we can have the proper conversation.
That's fine. I think at least attempts should be made to obtain it. Of course, if there are other annexures that she refers to which are not there, those should be, attempts should be made to obtain them. So I would imagine that at least if she is approached, that is Ms. De Beer, she might be able to assist. And I don't know whether from the court papers where it was uplifted, it also didn't have the annexure, or whether what the position is. But it seems that attempts should be made at least to get it. Mr. Soni?
May I make this?
Yeah,
Mr. Montana says it's important.
yeah,
I say it's not.
yeah.
But Ms. De Beer is not the only one who knows or who was told why the deal fell through. Mr. Montana knows that. Let him give that evidence and we can move on.
No, Chair.
Yeah,
Chair, you remember why I'm here?
yeah.
We are not leading Montana's evidence. I've given this commission an affidavit with over 170 annexures. And the stuff that I'm dealing with the bank, I'm now dealing with a property. Okay? The reason why this document is here, Chair, you know why? Because my deal with Mr. Miss De Beer didn't work. Okay? Then she enters into a transaction with Mr. Van der Walt, with precise trade. Chair, you can see that when you analyze, and the last paragraph says, my disagreement, my fight with her, she mentioned different reasons, and she said that she believed that there was value in her property. Okay, that's what she says. The bank doesn't agree. What is the value there? Because if she thought the property was 7 million rands, and she agreed with the bank that the property was 7 million rands, I would have probably bought the property, Chair. Okay? Now the bank says it's not. She rejects that. Okay? And so you can't withhold that information, because what is happening, he's building up, but he's jumping up important facts which will assist the commission to have a total picture of why the property is evolved in the manner that it does. So if we are playing reliance on this statement, it must provide the full information.
Let's pause there. Just remind me, Mr. Soni, why is the reason as to the transaction not being proceeded with so important for purposes of the commission?
It's not important.
Because if it's not important, then we should not delay on it then. I'm simply raising that question because the absence of the annexure has been raised by Mr. Montana. If the reason why the deal was not proceeded with is really not important, we should then be able to just proceed. If it is important, it may be that attempts should be made to obtain it, but if it's not important, it may be that we should not.
We submit it's not. But, Chairperson, as I said, we need to work out what the purpose of this evidence is. The purpose of this evidence, Chairperson, is to tie in with this deal the payments that Mr. Van der Walt said he made, the source of the funds for that 3.5 million rand, and that's TMM, we know. And at the end of the day, what happens is the deal falls through. A deal is then entered into, which Mr. Montana concedes, with the minor trust. That comes after this deal falls through. And that deal, too, is replaced, as we've already seen, by the deal between Precise Trade and the guest house. So that's simply what we want to put on record.
Yes, then if that is so, it seems to me we can move on, because the reason does not appear to be important for purposes of the commission. Yes. But if Mr. Montana says it is important, the reason is important, and then he can indicate to me why it is important, yes, then we can take it from there. Mr. Montana?
Chair, let me take you through a number of things. Firstly, let's deal with the procedure. Chair, it has taken me 2 years to be called before this commission. And I was told you didn't number, you didn't have this annexure and everything. That's the first issue. So firstly, this commission must be fair and consistent. So you admit documents that are being used against me. This commission admits, Chair. And those that refute, that challenges, this commission doesn't want to accept. That's the first issue, Chair. So I'm asking for fairness. That's the number one. Chair, no, I still have two others, Chair.
Or maybe let's take one at a time.
At the time, okay,
yeah.
Chair.
Now, to the extent that you are talking about this annexure, I agree with you that if there is an annexure to an affidavit, generally one should call for that annexure, okay? But I go further. I say there might be no need to go and look for the annexure if it is not important for purposes of what we are doing, okay? That's why I asked Mr. Soni, why is the reason as to why the transaction was not proceeded with important? And he said, it's not important. And I said, well, I will hear whether you say it's important. You already said it was important, but I will hear why you say it's important. But so if I'm persuaded that it's important, I would want attempts to be made to obtain the annexure. But if I'm not persuaded that it's important, I might not say we should pursue that, but I will hear what you have to say to that. So, as far as the annexure is concerned, I agree that if an affidavit refers to an annexure, generally speaking, one should look for that annexure. Otherwise, the affidavit is not complete. But one might say, well, for what we are doing, this annexure is important, but that annexure is not important. So let's not bother about the one that's not important, but let's bother about the one that is important. So talk to me.
Chair, I always take your guidance. Where the commission is playing reliance on this issue. And I'm being led on evidence. It can't be selective. Because the commission is here to search for the truth. To have a total picture, we have to look at history in the round to be able to form a picture. So that is the first issue, Chair. And I'm saying that if you look at this affidavit that I'm led on now, and Mr. Soni says, forget the adverse things. If you look, you start with the whole affidavit. You'll see, for example, that she mentioned my people were contacted by me. Things like those didn't happen, Chair. I don't want to go into that. I'm saying the reason why the sale didn't go through is because the bank said certain things, which she then said, I canceled the deal. Okay? That is a big issue, Chair. Now, I'll tell you why this also is very important, Chair. Mr. Sodi, for the past 2 days, he said to me, Mr. Montana, you need to be very fair to us. We are the commission. We are not Werksman's investigation. Okay? Chair, we just dealt with Parkwood. And I let it pass because I didn't want to be petty. Now, based on what the documents that were selective, they are presented, and Mr. Soni said at the end of when we talk about Parkwood, he says, I put it to you, not the facts don't support that, that some people may say, that is the word before you interrupted, Chair, because of the econ or whatever. Some people may say, and it concluded it, that the agreement for the sale of the Parkwood property, and Mr. Soni then relied on a number of documents. You asked a question and he said, those documents were picked up from the Werksman's, what is called the PRASA matter. Okay? Now, that document, Chair, were presented by Werksman's through an illegal process. Okay? That I regard as illegal. And I said they can't be admissible. The second issue, Chair, is that Mr. Soni is articulating. We did that with Parkwood. That's what Werksman is saying in court. He's repeating it not from an independent investigation, Chair, by this commission. He's taken their views, their positions, and their documents and transplanted it here. Okay? And Chair, I was not even told. So that's what, so it keeps on coming. And he says something else. Let me tell you what Bergsmans is saying and why we are on this path that Mr. Soni is on. He said something very, Chair, I want to deal with, and I want to ask for a bit. I won't take long, but I want to present it to you so that you can understand. Those who have accused me, Chair, have said Rian van der Walt has got Rian van der Walt's firm, Lobster and van der Walt, as it was called at that time. I think now it's changed. Had money from Siangena, or rather from TMN, which is a holding company of all of those, of Siangena. What do they place their reliance on? They place their reliance, let's go to I want to show it to you, Chair, page where we deal with the financial statements.
But hang on, Mr. Montana. To the extent that you're talking about the big picture of saying this is the narrative against you by Beckmans and so on and so on. That picture, I think I understand.
No, it's not
but
a bigger
at this
picture.
stage, you remember, we're just talking about whether that attachment, that annexure, is why the reason for the transaction not going through, why it is important.
Indeed, Chair.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'm not dealing with the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I want to deal. He said other things, Chair, and I want to go to that page.
But remember, at some stage we can deal with other things he has said, but this particular one.
No, Chair, this is actually related to this. I want to show you the
Yeah.
picture and
Yes.
why, in fact, this shouldn't even be admissible. But I want to go to that page again, Chair. Is it 191 or where we're dealing with the properties in the statement?
Yes, but hang on, Mr. Montana. I think as far as the importance is concerned, you might be able to answer without even going to the paper.
No,
you
Chair,
say the reason why the transaction didn't go through was what the bank said. Is that right?
Chair, that's what the bank said.
Yes.
But Chair, I'm saying three things, Chair, and I'm using this time to object.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying that that affidavit,
Yeah.
or that annexure to that affidavit from the bank, okay, from the bank, it actually shows how I had intended to finance that property.
Yes.
But there was a disagreement in terms of the
Yeah.
number. That's the first issue.
Yes.
So it's very important and material.
Yeah.
But Chair, I just want to use, because I let it slide
Yeah.
before. I want to show two things, Chair, so that you can understand. And there's an affidavit I want to refer to
Yes.
on this specific matter.
Yeah.
So if you can be patient with me, Chair,
Yeah, okay.
because I want to drive it now.
Okay,
So that
all
we
right.
can Chair, so I've said that affidavit is very important. It's material to what it's
The
to what
the
is being
annexure
done.
to the
The
affidavit.
annexure, that's one. Secondly, I'm saying that today, unlike what I was told yesterday, I'm dealing with evidence that doesn't come from this commission where people were interviewed, deposed two affidavits here. Now there is a confirmation that no, these documents. So people that I'm fighting with, I'm still coming to deal with, who actually have tried, who have run a very sophisticated intelligence campaign against me. Their documents are now the documents of the commission. I was given assurance yesterday that no, we are the commission. We are not Paul O'Sullivan, we are not Verksmans. Now, 24 hours later, it's very obvious, Chair. Now, I think it shouldn't be admissible, Chair. That's a big issue, especially after I've explained how Mr. Louis Green, how Mrs. De Pierre were actually pressurizing making these sworn statements. It was not even drafted by them, Chair. The commission cannot admit them. It must have their own statements. That's the second issue. The third issue, Chair, though my detractors, you know what they've done? Mr. Soni knows. Not only did this commission, and we dealt with the issue about the De Pierre commission. The Wagner affidavit. There's another affidavit. This affidavit, it was deposed to by Siangena, the CFO. Mr. Soni, it's interesting that he read what the CFO of TMM stroke Siangena said in court, but he didn't read the affidavit of TMM Siangena, which is submitted here. Okay? And Chair, I want to ask you quickly that I get that page, because I want to demonstrate something. It's very important, Chair. What page is that, Mr. Soni? Of the statement that will be, is it 191 on the, or when we're dealing with the properties, Chair?
Yeah, 191. Yeah.
191, Chair.
Yeah.
I think, let me show something, Chair, because one, no, Chair.
It must be the other
It can't,
file.
it must be the other file.
Yeah.
Chair, okay, let me tell you what TMM and Siangena, they didn't only depose of an affidavit in the court matter. They deposed to an affidavit and submitted to the commission. That affidavit, the CFO says, you are talking about payments that we have made as TMM and Siangena. And they said, we have never made a single payment to Precise. Okay? What do they rely on, Chair? And Mr. Soni knows that. Okay?
Yeah, it's page 190 to 191.
192.
There is 192 as well
I think that's 191.
on bundle G, PRASA bundle G. Yes.
You see, Chair, TMM Siangena, he posed to an affidavit and says, we as TMM or Siangena never paid a cent to Precise Trade. They said that there's an affidavit here. Okay? It's not being read, it's not being presented here. And you know why, Chair, why it's being withheld? Because they've been trying to make the courts, and now Mr. Soni is taking that narrative to here. I asked Mr. van der Walt, he says, I asked him, did Precise Trade receive money from TMM Siangena? He said no. And then we find that what they rely on are the notes that he has made. I asked him, what account is this? He says, no, because I was managing many funds, not from Precise, but from the law firm. I had, and I think the partner testified here that each partner was in control of certain things. He said, these are my notes to show, for example, that I'm using that money against another man in all of those things at Precise. Okay? Now, the reason why Mr. Soni withhold this vital information is because, like he did with the first one, where information was presented, he then wants to say...
Didn't they give you a copy of that affidavit? The one you say they withheld?
No, they didn't, Chair. It was
They did?
actually... No, they didn't. The commission didn't.
Oh,
The commission didn't, Chair.
yeah.
And that is why, based on that statement, when I saw the statement, I asked the question. And they said, but there's a thing, and I think that affidavit must come here, like this annexure, must come here and be read, Chair. And you know what it means? It means other than the notes. Because Rian says, no, I didn't receive money. In my rotating account, I robbed Zondo to pay Montana and balance my books at the end. And I wrote TMM loans. I wrote other things that are other notes. Okay? It's not a deposit from TMM. He says, he just said, okay, that the payment to to Precise Trade, the 3.5 was paid for by TMM Siangena. So I want to say that that is false, and I think that we must, in addition to that, we must perhaps at the break call that affidavit, read it to what it is, and then if there is any other evidence of payments other than the notes, let's then read the accounts and see which account pays for this amount, and they'll prove. So, Chair, this journey that I'm being taken on information taken from Werksmans to hang me, is now made the positions of the commission, and we are being led on a journey where vital evidence that disproves the narrative that is being presented here is being withheld deliberately, Chair. And I will never agree to that, Chair.
Well, no, Mr. Montana. Well, one, I don't believe that that affidavit would have been, would not have fissured, because we are not done yet. But Mr. Soni will deal with that. I don't believe that
Chair, without
we were going to
interrupting you-
finish without it being
No,
dealt
Chair,
with.
Chair, all the documents on properties
Yeah,
are in these two files.
yeah.
And I was...
And it's not there.
It's not there,
Yeah.
and it was not brought to my attention, Chair.
Yes.
Because I happened to ask. And you know why I asked, Chair? It's because there was a particular tweet made last night.
Yeah.
And I then wanted to check, and I then discovered there was this particular issue.
Yeah.
Now I realized, so I said the first part, I don't want to fight it.
Yeah.
Let me see where we are going.
Yeah.
But now, Chair, I'm not at the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture.
Yeah.
I'm now, Werksmans didn't interview me. They put certain statements in courts, and the commission is subjecting me, Chair. Why must I agree to that? Why must I sit here and answer Werksmans? He's just confirmed.
Hang on. I think with regard to the issue of the annexure, if attempts can be made to find it from Ms. De Beer or whoever, those attempts should be made for purposes of Mr. Montana. But I note that based on what Mr. Soni has said about the reason for the importance of the reason for the deal not going through, for purposes of the legal team, it's really not important. But if you think it's important for your version, I think attempts must be made to find it. If it's found, it's found. If it's not found, it's not found.
But, Chair,
But attempts should be made.
Chair, I support that first point.
Yeah.
But what it tells you about all the documents that we have,
Yeah.
I'm saying, Chair, you've ruled on the first one, I'm happy with that, Chair.
Yeah.
That let's find it.
Yes.
But we are finding an annexure on documents that are not the commission's documents. You asked Mr. Soni here, Chair. You said to him, Mr. Soni, do you know the relevance of this? He says, no, we have uplifted them. Chair, I'm making now an application. Maybe that's when I need my legal team to be here.
Yeah.
To draft an application that all these documents that were uplifted from Werksmans, that are not the commission's documents, are not admissible, Chair, to this commission. Unless if the people who made them, the commission's legal team can make sure that they put together proper affidavits and they put them. Or else, Chair, I'll fight Werksmans elsewhere. But I don't want to fight it in the commission, Chair.
Yeah, no. Let me explain this part, Mr. Montana. It's critically important that the commission does the best it can in investigating the issues that it is investigating. That's point number one. Point number two, obviously it has to operate within such constraints as it might have, including time and so on. Point number three, it is entitled, if it becomes aware that somebody is in possession of information or documents that may be relevant to what it is investigating, it's entitled to, and it may be obliged to obtain that information and look at it. So I therefore don't think that there would be a source of information where the commission would say, or if it comes from so and so, we won't even look at it. I think that the approach should be, if it's relevant to what the commission is investigating, let's have a look, and then let's have a look, consider it on its merits. If we don't think much of it, we don't think it's helpful, that's it. If we think it's helpful, let's have a look at it. But of course, there may be situations where somebody who wrote some document might have to be called and so on and so on. So I just mentioned that so that you understand. Indeed, the commission has obtained information from various sources.
Chair.
Okay. Yeah.
Chair. Thank you for the assurance. But I don't want us to put plaster over cracks on this issue. I respect, Chair, you are trying to move us forward.
Yeah.
I said, Chair, I said, when the commission, I said it yesterday, when the commission went to collect documents from court, which Mr. Oleman used for his report, he left out my version, Chair. And this is not because the commission is coming to an end. This was done last year, Chair. That's the first issue. I'm happy if the commission looks at all the documents, including my documents, Chair, including those, all of those. You remember I quoted the statement that the commission can never be the voice of the accusers.
Yeah.
It must balance and look at both the accused and the accusers, Chair. Now, in this particular instance, we've got very important things. So, Chair, I agree fully with you. The documents that becomes available, the commission becomes aware that the documents vital for the commission to fulfill its role. I accept that, Chair. But here's the commission, Chair, despite your assurance, is doing the opposite of what you have. It's sneaking in documents, okay, and leaving other documents out, okay. For example, I forced that the affidavit of Mr. Wagner be read. Mr. Soni says it's not important. I said, read it. And you know what it tells you, Chair? That affidavit, you know what it tells us. It tells us that Mr. Wagner, who's got no relationship to PRASA, entered into an agreement. He deposed to an affidavit. He says it's a good property deal that we're doing, property development that we're looking at. All the documents were submitted yesterday, and they've been admitted, Chair. I forced that, Chair. Now, here the commission and the country is made to believe that, in fact, the 3.5 was paid for by TMM. Okay? TMM then put a statement to say, no, we didn't make such a payment, and not our bank never paid. And they asked this commission, I think, for the provision of that. And you know why it's kept out, Chair? Precisely because if it's kept out, it then supports the narrative based not on bank statements, based on handwritten notes of someone who says, and I think that there are many handwritten notes there beyond where he says, I'm playing this against that. Chair, that affidavit, like the annexure, is material, and it enables the commission to look at the things in a round. Now we are being, Mr. Soni says...
Let me allow Mr. Soni to...
Let me make this my last
here.
statement, Chair. Mr. Soni keeps, or the commission rather, so that I don't become personal, keeps that affidavit that says TMM Siangena didn't pay. Okay? Yet comes here, Chair, being aware of that affidavit, and makes the statement, Chair, and says TMM paid. And what is that based on? It's not, we said follow the money. But this one notes that Wertzmans presented to say, we believe that this money may be coming from TMM. Chair, today, we are all here. This commission has got capacity. Let us put it on the table. Yesterday, Chair, I asked you to say, let's play the clip. I was not allowed. Let us put where this 350 comes from account-wise, and let us put the accounts of TMM and see the correlation, because what is putting through to me, Chair, is putting us to tell the country that TMM paid when it's actually false. And
No,
the reason why this annexure is not put in the chair is actually to support a particular narrative. I'm insisting, Chair, that they be put here in total. We discuss the matter in full.
The affidavit, let me allow Mr. Sonny to respond to this.
Chairperson, let me first of all say, the transactional account and the letters written by Mr. Van der Walt were revealed for the first time by this committee. Worksmans had nothing to do with it. They conducted their investigations and were not aware of it. Mr. Loubser came and gave evidence before the Commission indicating where they got this from and how the two letters from Mr. Van der Walt were obtained. Now, that was all contained in Mr. Ollerman's affidavit. I just want to, because Mr. Montana has kept making accusations against the Commission, and especially the manner in which it has conducted itself. It is important, Chairperson, because at page 32, and I'd like Mr. Montana to look at it so that he follows.
Which bundle?
Page, bundle H, Chairperson,
Bundle
SS
H.
18.
While we are looking, let me just say something, Mr. Montana, about the statement you made that yesterday you asked for a clip to be played and you were not allowed. I'm not sure that it's correct to say you were not allowed, but this is what I think happened.
Okay, sure, sorry.
I said, Mr. Soni, at that stage, his question related to what Mr. Ollerman said or didn't say in his report. And I said he was still going to come to the question of what you say in your document, he said to at the hearing. And I said if it is necessary, we could look at that. So
I apologize, I accept your summary is correct.
Yeah,
That's what you said, thank you.
Yeah, okay, all right. Bundle H, what page, Mr.
Page 30, Chairperson.
Chair, is it possible to ask for a quick comfort break?
We are
Even if it's
got
3 minutes, Chair.
3 minutes.
I'm dancing here, Chair. Just for 3 minutes.
Okay,
only.
let's take, let's say 5 minutes. Because,
5 minutes, thank you,
Yeah,
Chair.
let's adjourn for 5 minutes. Okay, Mr. Sonik.
Chairperson, I'm just dealing now with the procedure adopted in relation to the allegation. At page 30, paragraph, let's start at page 29. Earlier we deal with Mr. Montana, who was served with a copy of the report together with the annexes. Then at paragraph 105, say among the more important role players are Mr. van der Walt, who next to Montana or perhaps alongside him was the principal figure in the 4 transactions. Bank statements of precise trade, the vehicle through which the deals were facilitated, were principally funded, confirm Mr. van der Walt's direct involvement in each transaction. In the next paragraph, what is missing are details of his relationship with Mr. Montana, nor does he provide an explanation of how the whole scheme was conceived and what the end game was. Then at paragraph 107, we say, another significant role player, certainly in regard to providing finance, is TMM. In this regard, the Commission's investigators are aware of a contract between TMM and Mario Ferreira on the one hand and Mr. van der Walt on the other. It is hoped Mr. Loksha deals with this in his affidavit. And then at page 109, we say, in addition, Mr. van der Walt refers to payment made towards some of the purchases by TMM, which appear to be confirmed by entries made in Trade's investment bank account. Given the foregoing, it is submitted that there are serious questions about Mr. Ferreira's relationship with Mr. Montana and his reasons for providing such huge sums to fund property transactions involving the CEO of a public entity. At paragraph 111, a copy of this report and other relevant documents will be emailed to Mr. Ferreira with an initial invitation to deal with the matters concerning him, TMM, and Siangena. We deal with other role players. Then at paragraph 115, it is said, a number of questions arise about Mr. Montana. Among them are the following. What was his relationship with Mr. van der Walt? How was the whole scheme to sell his Parkwood property and purchase the other 3 properties conceived? How did he fund the purchases of the properties? Copy of this report and other relevant documents will be emailed to Mr. Montana with an initial invitation to him to deal with those and other relevant matters. The report will be sent to other persons mentioned, again with an invitation to respond to its contents insofar as it implicates them. And at paragraph 117, a number of matters are raised in this report about the 4 property transactions. The persons mentioned, who are in some way or the other participated in the transactions or facilitated them, have been invited to set out their versions. Paragraph 119, after their responses are received, a further report will be compiled and submitted. Now, Chairperson, Mr. Montana seems to refer to an affidavit by Siangena. I do not have it in here, but what I do recall, and we are checking on that, is after this report was filed on Siangena, they made an application to cross-examine Mr. Olin. They said they were going to do forensic investigations in respect of the different matters. They wanted to assist Mr. Olin. to the best of my knowledge, and again I say this has come as a surprise, we've not received anything from Siangena beyond that application made in terms of 3.3 and 3.4. The Commission responded to that application. The purpose of that application, as set out in their application, was they didn't want the hearing of the Commission to affect the Siangena hearings in the High Court. That's what the stated purpose was. That, as I understand it, in any case, didn't take place then. It took place at a later date. So I say all of this, Chairperson, because it is said we were selected. This report was served.
Sorry, it is said?
We are selective in the documents and what we submit. This report was served on Mr. Montana in June last year. We've not received anything in writing from Mr. Montana. That is why the 10-6s needed to be served on him in relation, in particular, to this report. From TMM, as I say, to the best of my knowledge, and if something had come up, I would have been told about it, we've not received the so-called forensic investigations they did, if they did any. They took a technical point, Chairperson, that the matter had been served on Mr. Ferreira, but not, or had been served on Siangena, but not on TMM, and so on. We responded to that in relation to the 3-4 application.
So, is the position that you are not aware of the affidavit that Mr. Montana is talking about?
Where there is a denial of this, certainly since the forensic investigations.
Yeah, no, Mr. Montana says he is aware that the Commission has in its possession an affidavit by somebody from either TMM or Siangena.
The CFO, Chair. The
CFO.
The CFO.
What's his name?
Tom, what is Tom's surname? I remember the surname, Chair. But
Yeah.
there's a CFO,
The CFO
of TMM,
of TMM.
stroke Siangena. Yes.
Okay, and in that affidavit you say, he says TMM never paid any money
Chair,
to Precise Trade connected with you.
and Rian had confirmed the same, Chair.
Yeah,
So,
okay, let's
yes.
pause it there. So you are not aware of any such affidavit?
Chairperson, I don't have the affidavit in my head at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
But the one I am aware of is that application.
Yeah.
I mean, is an affidavit in support of the 3-3 application.
Yeah. Do you know whether they dealt with that in that affidavit?
I am just trying to get
Because
confirmation of that.
If they were seeking to leave to cross-examine anybody, they would need to put up their version.
Yes.
It may be that's the affidavit. That application, you said it was for leave to cross-examine.
To cross-examine Mr. Ollerman.
Yeah. What happened to it?
Chairperson, we submitted, when I say we, the Commission submitted an answering affidavit in that regard.
The legal team?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But beyond that, you you mentioned also that there was they wanted to say the Commission should not hear certain evidence prior to the High Court hearing.
That they didn't want Mr. Ollerman's report to be presented to the Commission.
Yeah, before.
That was part of it, yes.
Yes. Well, if you could refresh your memory on that application so that one can see whether it was decided or not decided, or whether certain issues were raised. I do seem to recall that there was some application, but I can't remember. There are so many applications that one has dealt with. I can't remember each one. I can't remember what the position is, but I would like to know whether a decision was made on it or not yet, or what happened.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a copy of that affidavit?
No, not
You
with
don't
me, Chair.
have-
Not
you
with me,
don't have.
Chair.
Okay. Mr. Soni has said attempts will be made to try and establish if there is such an affidavit. Well, certainly the application one,
Yes.
but I think the Secretariat must be asked to check. It's just that it will be easier if we know the surname of the CFO.
I think it's Mr. Dubek.
Tubek.
I think it's Mr. Dubek.
Oh, okay. So I think the legal team should ask the Secretariat to check if there is such an affidavit, so that it can be looked at. So I think what Mr. Soni is saying, Mr. Montana, is he can't say such an affidavit does not exist, but he is not aware of it other than such affidavit as may have accompanied the application for leave to cross-examine. So bearing in mind that in an application for leave to cross-examine, that's me now talking, it's likely that they would have put up their version. And obviously, if they knew that there was an issue about whether they made any payments to Precise Trade, they would have had to deal with that. But I think rather than speculate, let's get that affidavit in relation to the application, and let's get the Secretariat to check if there is any other affidavit by the same person, and then we'll take it from there. And then whatever is obtained will be shared with you, Mr. Montana.
May I make one other point?
Yes.
Mr. Montana seems to say now that he had talked to Mr. van der Walt. We don't know when he's done that. The importance of that, Chairperson, is that Mr. van der Walt, the report was emailed to Mr. van der Walt, wherever he is in Texas, as we understand. Mr. van der Walt has not taken the trouble to present his version. He knows what we were going to present. And so we have nothing from him. His partner came and gave evidence on the basis that they accepted in good faith what is contained in his letters, because those letters were in response to concerns they had raised with him. So this notion that there are these loose documents, and what is important, Chairperson, is in none of these two letters that Mr. van der Walt writes does he say there, look man, what is reflected as my notes may not be correct. He in fact says these are the payments with no qualification made. He presents the transactional account to them. So we would like to know too, where did the money come from?
Yes, well, let me just say this so you know, Mr. Montana. I do recall that at some stage, I think there was the question whether, since Mr. van der Walt can be compelled to come here or even to depose to an affidavit when he's outside of South Africa, whether some documents should be given to them. And I said, even if he can't be compelled, if we know where he is, he should be given the documents, he should be asked for his version. If he doesn't comply, there's nothing we can do, but he should be. So I just want to mention that I certainly said that should be done, and from what Mr. Soni says, it was done. So, yeah.
Chair, can I address you? Thank you, Chair. You know, Chair, I listened to Mr. Soni. And I think that he made statement. Now, his last statement, we don't know who paid. Before I intervened, he said TMM paid. The chair spoke to Rian when the matter went to court. He was in the country. And let's leave Rian van der Walt on the side. Let's deal. We said the method of investigating corruption is a flow of money. Follow the track of money. Okay? Now here the money doesn't show. Notes are now being accepted. A note that is written, Chair. And I ask Rian, what did you mean by this? Okay? Chair, I think that I want to put it here. Mr. Soni doesn't know who paid. He says he doesn't know. And 30 minutes ago he said, these monies are paid for by TMM. Chair, I want to say, I've said before, first they are false. And that is why, Chair, it's not a mistake that they want to deal with 4 properties that are not my properties, but that's someone else's properties, and then keep things there. But let me just quickly mention, Chair, page 32, 118.
Yeah.
The persons mentioned who in some way or the other participated in the transactions or facilitated them have been invited to set out their versions. Mr. Soni says, I have been invited to set up my version. And that is why, Chair, I refused in July. Chair, that's not true. In fact, in my first day here, I indicated to the Chair that when I was served with 10.6, I rejected it. I said actually it's unlawful. Chair, my first affidavit was given to this commission in August 2019. And I addressed the issue of properties, exactly what I said here. When you look at my first draft, this commission tried to curtail my evidence, Chair. And what they were trying to do, they were trying to get me to speak to certain things and tell me others are outside of the terms of reference. Werksmans, I was told, Chair. Werksmans or Werksmans, whatever it's called. I was told is outside the terms of reference of this. I was told by this commission. The reason why I didn't appear for almost 2 years, Chair, this commission had tried to terminate and limit my responses. So when they served me with Rule 3.3 notices, I said, but I prepared an affidavit and I addressed all those issues. And if indeed the commission is of the view that I didn't address some of the Rule 3.3, let me know and then I will supplement. But I believe that if you look at my comprehensive, at that time my first draft to the commission, Chair, was about 245 pages. So I addressed my properties. I didn't need the commission to serve me with a notice. When I volunteered to come, I knew that one of the public issues being raised was the issue about properties. And I said I'm going to assist the commission with information. So, Chair, I want to say that Mr. Soni knows that's not true. In my affidavit, I've attached all my correspondence. And in my first day, Chair, I spoke openly about it, how my relationship, I've had a bad relationship with this commission, because it has tried on numerous occasions. And I was surprised, Chair, by the way, when you asked, you said, Mr. Montano, you had written a letter to me, you referred to a letter of 26 July 2019. And I said, the Chair hasn't seen the letter. Yet I wrote the letter and I directed it to the chair. So, Chair, the issue about the response about 10.6, I even spoke to some of the people in the legal department of the commission. I said, how do you guys mislead the chair to issue a 10.6 regulation against me? I will not honor it. And if the chair is fair, I use those words in the email to the committee. If the chair is fair, he'll want to understand my side of the story. And you know what I was saying in that story, Chair? In simple terms, I said, I will address each and every allegation made against me, okay? And those I've addressed even in a very specific way in my affidavit. Chair, by the way, these allegations against me, whilst they're old, they were made here in the commission 8 months after I've presented my draft statement, which addresses the very same issues. So number one, Chair, on 10.6, Chair, Mr. Soni knows it's not true. Secondly, Chair, so in 118, I was the key person. I was served with 3.3. Oleman spoke to all other people. He never spoke to me, Chair, because he never had an interest. Thirdly, Chair, Oleman says I'm basing my documents on court papers. Court papers on this matter of Siangena, Chair, at that time, when he collected the information, actually records the fact that Siangena and TMM had actually said we never paid a cent to this company. Yet it is being pushed in the way that it is. He says, Chair, Mr. Soni, Mr. Lobster's affidavit will deal with it. Chair, Mr. Lobster's affidavit doesn't deal with it. Actually, it doesn't. It just referred to, it's actually dealing with the process on their law firm and not these allegations, because he said we didn't know about them. We're learning them about for the first time. Now, Chair, Chair, I've just noted 4 points, just to complete them quickly, Chair. He quotes the report where they say the relationship, and you can see it's speculative there, Chair. But I think, Chair, when Mr. Soni made the statement and said TMM paid, okay? This commission has got a very simple task. It's got investigators, Chair. Let us go to the bank and get the accounts, the bank accounts of TMM, and see the very same process he has been taking me through. That can you see that amount correlate to that? It will show, Chair, it will show that in fact no such payment, and I've satisfied myself around that. What is based on, Chair, is based on what Mr. Soni has been trying to do, to take notes. Now he said in the statement, there are certain things Mr. van der Merwe said in his statement, so rather in his letter to his partners, but those are not reflected in the statement. Now if that is the case, it tells us that there were other activities and probably other accounts at play, not only one account. Now, they are ignoring bank statements and the facts. What they're trying to do, they're trying, and Rian said it very clearly, say, no, I'm dealing with a lot of people, including investors and other things into my company. I handle the issue of properties for the company there. So when I do, I pay Peter, and I rob Peter to pay Paul, and vice versa, depending on the availability of cash in my accounts. Now, and I then suspect that the reason why he wrote TMM loan, it means he says, if I've got this amount of money in our account, okay, I'll use it, pay it back, and all of those things. Now, Chair, the issue is we then need to confirm. Follow the money. The money must say, it says two things. It says 3.5 was paid by TMM. I asked. TMM says, no, it's not us. We've never paid that money. It then says TMM paid 7.5. Okay? That again is also not true. Mr. Soni, as he's building towards this point, because I know, Chair, because I know I've been through this before. I know where he's heading to, and I'm allowing him to continue asking the point, because I know where the falsehoods lie. Because for the past 6 years, I've been accused of this kind of things. Now, Chair, I think other than all these things, there are 3 specific questions. Where is that affidavit? And I think we need to get it today, probably lunchtime, and read it like we did with the Bachner one. Number 2, let us get the actual bank account so that what Mr. Sony is saying, what Werksmans is saying, what Mr. Peter Louis Maybeck is saying, we can show, for example, that they're not true. And thirdly, Chair, I think that Mr. Sony should either change his statement or withdraw, because he says he doesn't know. He cannot say to you, it was paid by this, and he says he doesn't know. It is not true, Chair, it's false.
Yes, okay, Mr. Mutana. Just remember that Mr. Sony has no personal knowledge of whatever happened. When he says, if he said so, this amount was paid by TMM, my understanding of what he's saying is it would appear from these documents that this is what happened, and giving you an opportunity to say, no, but that's not true, and this is why it is not true. So he doesn't have personal knowledge of who paid what, when. He looks at the documents and then says, as I understand these documents, I understand them to reflect that so-and-so paid so much to so-and-so on such and such a date. What do you say? That's my understanding of what
Chair,
he's saying.
Chair, I'm afraid. I'm afraid, Chair. And I want to ask respectfully, Chair. Mr. Sony said, after he realized that I sold my house, remember that question? He said, I can conclude and put it to you that this was not a property transaction. It was something else. Okay? He says that based on what he has seen. Chair. Okay? And then he comes and make another statement. Now, Chair, I'll tell you that if Mr. Sony and the team were assisting you and putting all the facts before you and not jump, and I want to say that it's been selective, Chair. You can see, Chair, that this property story, and I shouldn't have agreed to it, Chair. With hindsight, I shouldn't have agreed that I accepted your guidance. I should have insisted that my affidavit be dealt with in full. Because I've said there's bias, there's a predetermined agenda. It's playing itself out here, Chair. And I'm being asked about documents that have been lifted, not the investigations of the commission. And I want to say to this commission, I've said, Chair, that when I came here, and I want to repeat this statement consistently. When I came here, I was told that Montana paid for properties 36 million rand, and these were paid for by a contracted party to PRASA. I said that's false. And I then indicated the details of these transactions and how I was able to pay for 1, 2, 3. That's one, Chair. We are no longer talking about the 36 million rand. We've moved to something else. Okay? Now we come to this issue, and you can see, Chair, that what is getting at in this statement is not the money in the account, is the handwritten notes, because those are suggest. That is why it says these haven't been denied by Mr. Rian van der Walt. But those are not transactions, they're notes, handwritten notes. Chair. And unless if you know what was in the mind of that person, you wouldn't be able to say for certainty, I take that as it is. And he made it, Chair, as evidence leader. I said it yesterday. Mr. Sony, you've got a duty to assist the Chair towards finding the truth. Now you are peddling, what are effectively stories that have been created by other people outside. And that is why, Chair, I actually object, Chair, to all these documents that have been lifted. I will never, Chair, agree to answer questions based on documents that have been lifted. I want that affidavit to be here to be read so that the Chair can have the total picture of what it is. So his response, I reject, Chair. I do not accept.
We will need to go for the lunch break. Mr. Soni, will you say whatever you wish to say when we come back, or do you want to?
No, I'll say it when we come back.
When we
so
come
can
back,
check
yeah.
what the
Yes, okay.
documents say.
We are at nearly 25 past 1. Let's resume at 2:30. We adjourn.